I remember when I first came here. Lots of things happened. I went to Guatemala my first fall I was here. And the next spring I decided I was going to run a half marathon. You remember that, Brent? Because you're in this sermon right now, I tell you that. Somehow I got it in my head to do this. And so in January I saw a news clipping or a runner's magazine that said there was going to be a half marathon in Door County and Peninsula State Park. I thought, what a beautiful area, right? The Peninsula State Park is beautiful. The other thing I didn't realize that it's hilly. But it's got hills up and down, and to run 13 miles up and down hills. And so I didn't know. I thought, I've got till May. It's January. I've got January, February, March, April. I had plenty of time. I'm in great shape. So I practiced. I'd run, on the treadmill 6 miles, whatever. It took me an hour. And I kept going. Then Brent, since he's been running marathons for a long time, I could have just as easily asked Dave to, both of these guys have run marathons many times. So Brent's given me all kinds of clues about posture, stride, and what to eat. When you hydrate, what kind of electrolytes you should have. You eat the gummy things, you drink the water, whatever, when to stop, when to walk, and when you're running, you put Vaseline between your toes and you wear these big socks and all these kinds of things, and make sure you eat 3 hours beforehand and all these things to prepare me for this half marathon. The only thing he didn't do was get me up in the morning and train. That was up to me. And so I got up there, and I'm just, the first 6 miles are kind of tough, and I see Ariana and Kelly, and they go, Daddy, go. And I say, this is great. And I'm suffering my tendonitis in both knees. I'm trying to run. And they got this little device on me. I guess they can track me from anywhere in the country on your computer. And so I'd walk, and and then I'd hear voices up ahead, and I'd look around the corner, and someone was up there. So I'd run by, As soon as I saw they were there, I'd walk some more. But whatever he told me to prepare, he was trying to prepare me for something I've never done before. The preparation is important. I should have taken a year to prepare, but I thought I could do it in 4 months. We have preparation going on here. We've got God preparing the Israelites for this long journey, right? The Passover meal. This is what I want you to do. You need to start thinking like people of God. You need to start acting like people of God. What I want you to do is all these things with the lamb and the blood and the Lent, and all these things. And Jesus is doing the same thing with his disciples. Telling them, I've been with you for this long, but this is what I want to do for you. It's only going to be a couple days, and I'll be gone. Well, I'll be dead, but then I'll come back again. But I want you to be as prepared as you possibly can. This is the clincher right here, is when I wash your feet. This is what puts it all into perspective. All I've done, all I've said in the last 3 years, it boils down to this. Now, I'm breaking a lot of the rules that you're supposed to abide by, social norms. The master is never supposed to wash feet. The master is the one who gets his feet washed. That's why Peter had such a tough time with it, because he couldn't stand to see his master being his servant. It just wasn't called for. The other thing that strikes me in this whole thing is Peter's response is my response. Jesus, are you going to wash my feet too? This is something I pray for. For Jesus to wash my feet as well. I could have him wash my whole entire body, but I want him to wash my feet. I want him to be present with me, to show me the way, because I go off in different directions. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in what's going on that we lose sight of what's important. I want you to wash my feet, Jesus, and bring me back on track. I want you to bring me back. And I want you to include not only me, but my family and my loved ones as well. That's easy. Jesus says, I'll do you one better. All these things I've been saying the past 3 years with you, all these things I've been doing, this is my strongest point of all. Among you, there's one who's followed me for this long, and yet, on the night before I get crucified, he will betray me. And yet, his feet I will wash, the same as everyone else's. Love your enemies. I'm sure that Jesus in his heart didn't hate Judas, but Judas was acting like an enemy to Jesus. And despite that fact, Jesus washed his feet to show and to prove that everything he said is where the tire hits the road. You know, it's not just talk. I'm actually going to do this. Even though he takes what I've said and what I've done and throws it out the window. You know how you feel when you've mentored someone, you've given them advice, you've built a relationship, and they go off and they take whatever you said and they just toss it negligently, they dismiss it, they throw it off to the side, and they're going to do whatever they're going to do. It just feels like you've got your nose bloodied by someone you really care about and who you thought was really cared about you as well. But Jesus, in his own way, he said, I give you this. I gave you this grace. I gave you this gift. I gave you this love. You can do with it what you will. That doesn't change the fact that I'm going to continue giving it to you. And that's a hard one for us to realize, is it doesn't depend on them. However they act, they're going to act, but however I act is how I'm going to act. My lessons with my daughter, when she comes home, she wants to just somebody, and I said, no, you know, don't be so affected by what they do. You've got to be true to yourself. You're loving and caring, and, you know, don't let them turn you into something you're not. You have to remain true to who you are. And Jesus shows us this. Even looking across the table eye to eye with someone he knows is going to betray him, and that's got to be hard. So we come to this Maundy, Thursday service, and we think about the mandate to serve each other. To serve maybe those we don't even know. Some of those people that we don't even like, maybe. But it doesn't change who we are. We will do what we will do because we have the love of Christ in us, that we have the example that Christ gave throughout all the Gospels, and what Paul talks about in his letters, and in the New Testament, and who they talk about in the Old Testament foreshadowing Jesus and all these things. The love of God remains constant. And so we have this Jesus character to kind of identify with, to ask for forgiveness when we need it. Maybe we need to do the 70 times 7 thing with forgiving someone for hurting us, because it takes a long time for that. But we do. We act. We do the best we can with what we have, knowing that Christ is within us to empower us. The presence is with us to make us whole, or to try to make us whole, that we have a semblance of some kind of peace, even though the world is turmoil, and though things are happening around us, that we can act, but we can also be at peace, that we know that Christ is with us, and Christ is acting in the world, maybe through our enemies, maybe for us, for our enemies. The bombings in Brussels, what do we do? The bombings in wherever, what do we do? The terrorist acts, what do we do? You know, why would Amish families go to the funerals of the parents of the kids that killed their kids? Why would they do that? Why would people do some things like that? It doesn't make any sense, and yet that's exactly what Christ had shown his disciples to do. Knowing that they're hurting too, and it's not just me, but it's all of us hurt. We serve. We love. Jesus shows this in a very dramatic way. Later on, oil on the foreheads of wholeness and healing, because there can't be enough of that in this world. What's going on? We all need to feel whole and healed. Amen.